I don't know, man. It just seems kind of suspicious.
Meh, I don't really think so.
McAvoy goes to Montreal, a team that is chasing us in the standings. He hurts his shoulder, and then suddenly he's hospitalized after seeing a Canadian medical team and might miss multiple weeks?
Yeah, this stuff happens, dude.
Well, you might think so, but I'm going to do something about it.
Yeah? What are you gonna do? What, are you gonna press charges? Do you remember how much we made fun of Habs fans after they tried that with Chara demolishing Patches that one time?
It was a pretty brutal hit.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal. But still.
No, I'm going to burn that city to the ground.
Ha, good. Just what the U.S. and Canadian relationship needs right now.
Whatever. What would you do?
I don't know. I guess we could always do what we did when we were younger. Just take the toughest 20 guys in town and go over there and fight their toughest 20. You kick some ass and you feel like you got your revenge.
Actually do that?
What?
You guys used to fight neighboring towns?
Yeah, that was fairly common.
Did you ever win?
Dude, I have more concussions than I can remember. A torn labrum in my shoulder. I have to see the chiropractor once a week for the travesty that is my spine. I have so many knee injuries that doctors can't even tell me what's wrong anymore. And I have lost or chipped more teeth away from the ice than on it.
So no.
Yeah, no, I didn't win too often.
Low quality fans of a high quality Bruins franchise. Welcome back. That is not a dub. That's quite a drop off from the tourney that we just watched, huh? Four Nations was really good. I have bad predictions sometimes, as many of you know. I did not think the Four Nations was going to be as good as it was, because I kind of expected it to be handled like a glorified all-star game where players didn't actually care. They cared, and it was awesome. It was really, really great, and I want to give props to every single person involved in creating that. I think a lot of times we have this knee-jerk reaction to go, well, yeah, but they suck at everything else whenever this kind of stuff happens, and the commissioner's terrible and all that kind of stuff. But hey, props where they're due. Great job with the Four Nations. Now on to the other stuff. The Boston Bruins. Not great. Not great. Let's talk about the Ducks first. This is somehow the first game against them this season. It feels a little bit late in the season for that, but hey, here we are. The Ducks have the 31st ranked power play, the 27th ranked penalty kill. They are dead last in goals scored per game. We know how that feels. And 18th in goals allowed per game, which may have less to do with the actual defense and more to do with Dustall and Gibson looking excellent. Posting a 9.11 and a 9.15 respectively through the season. That's not a small task when you're behind a defense that's this young. And that's what the Ducks are. They're young across the board. There's a lot of youth there. And they're, more importantly, the game changers, the game-changing talent is super young. So there's an interesting conversation going on with the Ducks right now, though, because they're designed to suck. They do suck, and they're kind of designed to suck, but also aren't we getting to that point where you shouldn't be sucking anymore? And I want to point something out to everybody. When you're talking about a full rebuild, a strip-it-down rebuild to the core, like just not to the core, sorry, to the studs, just everything out, right? What you're looking at is what the Ducks are going through right now. Now, I'm not going to use the hyperbolic situation of the Sabres because I don't think that's fair. There's a risk of a rebuild going that way, but not every rebuild is a 15-year endeavor. No, but for the Ducks, the last time they made the playoffs was 2017-2018. The year before, they got swept or smoked in the first round. I don't know if they were swept, but they were handled pretty easily, I'm pretty sure, in the first round that year. The year before that, they had like 105 points, and I think they went to the conference finals. So like they dropped off. I don't remember how quickly they actually embraced the rebuild. So this is a little unfair, but this is kind of how this goes anyway. So 7-ish years ago is the last time they made the playoffs. And then they get bad, and then they get worse. And now we're sitting here 7 years later being like, why do you still suck, right? Why are you still a bottom 5 team in the NHL. They're sitting right now with 25 wins now, 24 losses, 6 overtime losses. That's technically way better. Not even technically, that just is way better than last year. And the year before that. That means it's working. They still suck, right? They're not there yet, but they were really, really bad. They're really bad. Now they're just really bad, but not quite as historically bad. This is what it is. It's so slow, and there's still a lot of question marks. So will these players be enough game changers once they're in their prime? Will they be impactful enough? What do they do with their defense right now? Because they had to scratch Minchikov so that they could get Zellweger in at one point, and then they vice versa for those two, and it keeps bouncing around. And like they have young guys who are not spending time in games because they want to get as close to a winning formula as possible, but they should still be in the stage where they're just letting their kids play. There's a lot of conversation about this, and there's concern amongst that fan base that, hey, some of these guys, when they're all in their prime, are we going to be good enough? Are we really going to be contenders? Or will we rebuild to the point where we're a team that's like kind of good every year, which is the scariest thing, right? So I don't think there's that much concern. I think the Ducks are going on the right path here. It's just taken a very long time. And I like to use these examples to remind everyone that's what a real strip it all down rebuild looks like. You're giving up the better part of a decade, typically at least. So, yeah. For the Bruins, we look like we're in that 2018-2019 mode that the Ducks were in. Yikes. Marchand, Lindholm, Coyle, Geeky Zakapasta, Frederick, Patra, Brazeau, Tufty, Beecher, Kostelik. Zadorov, Peak, Callahan, Carlo, Lorai, Wotherspoon, Swayman gets a start. That's your lineup for this game against the Ducks. We're going to talk about the math at the end of this video. We're not going to do it early. I'm not going to keep harping on the same stuff at the beginning of the videos. Hampus is still not ready and actually technically doesn't have... Because today was supposed to be the day he was back, but now they're saying we don't have a timeline for him. We're not sure yet. Which is awful and not great. McAvoy is now out due to the fact that the Canadians tried to kill him. No, I'm actually very much on the side of medical incidents happen sometimes. We are not a perfect species, as everyone knows, because I'm assuming every single person watching this has met another human being and is aware that we are not perfect. So I do not think anything malicious happened, obviously. I don't honestly think anything negligent happened either. Sometimes crazy stuff just happens. He re-injured the AC joint in his shoulder that had previously had a procedure done on it, and then it got infected. Now, I want to be very clear with this. People die from that. That's like a real, I don't care if you're a professional athlete, if you have the best medical care in the world, people do die from infections like this. So, initial concern was, oh my gosh, is he going to be okay? And it looks like he's going to be okay. But there's not a timeline for him. And at the end of this video, we're going to talk about whether or not he's considered week to week, but whether or not it might just be a situation where you just shut him down for the year, right? You just say, hey, like, dude, you're done. By the time you're going to get back, we'll have 2 weeks left of meaningless hockey, or maybe not. We'll see. But we're going to have that conversation in a minute. Tufty up over Merkulov or Lysell, and it's not that you would put either of those guys on the fourth line. Brazeau would play on the fourth, Brazeau was really bad in this game. And then you would have Lysell or Merkulov with Patra and Frederick. I don't get it. I don't really know what's happening. I don't understand the management of those guys. And I know a lot of people are probably just getting to this point where like, hey, maybe these guys just don't have it. They're busts, whatever. They're performing well enough at the AHL level, and they have like that. Well, Lysell has that high draft pedigree, and you have done everything you could have the last 2 years, you being the front office, to absolutely shatter any confidence they've built. Every time they've been on a tear in the AHL, you've refused to call them up, or if you have, you've given them 8 minutes of ice time on the third or fourth line. It's been bullshit front office handling of these prospects. So I really look, maybe they won't be difference makers. They certainly wouldn't be huge difference makers right away, but I have no idea why they're going out of their way not to call these guys up so that they can play. I don't get it. Now, I haven't looked into it. I haven't heard of any injuries or anything. I know Lysell was hurt a little while back, so maybe he's still hurt or working through something. I'm not even sure. I didn't even look into that at this point. I'm just being whiny. I'm just being an uneducated whiner. But Merkulov, as far as I'm aware, is healthy. Just a weird mismanagement of your two better prospects. I don't get it. I don't get the obsession with not playing them. And even in a situation where you go, man, we have to win these games, there's no way they make your lineup worse. There's just no way. There's no way. It's that bad. Yeah. This is fun. But let's talk about this fun, shall we? Like, comment, subscribe. Nailed it. Puck drops! And 5 minutes in. The Anaheim Ducks have had 2 chances, dead center of the slot, wide open, all alone. 5 minutes in. I'm concerned. But let's switch that to be positive, right? We're going to toss that on the positive side. Swayman's locked in. Locked in to start this one. And if I'm going to make an assumption about what's going to be better during a game, our defensive structure or Swayman, I mean, especially the last month or so, Swayman, clearly. We'll move on. 9 minutes in. The Ducks think they're flying the zone, but the puck never actually gets out, and Geekie ends up being the beneficiary as he gets a quick pass, putting him in front of Gibson all alone, with time, and the puck, and Gibson, right in front, like 4 feet in front of him. I don't even think I don't think Gibson made a save on this. I think it went high and wide, but Judd said during the play that he got a piece of it. Either way, no finish, man. No finish. 9:15 left, just a little later. Marchand, chance, wide open in front because Kostelic had an excellent forecheck creating this chance. No finish. Gibson stones him 5-1. No finish. 2:59 left of the period. Lindholm and Strome got into a gloves-on push fest, little, sauciness. So both are going to go for roughing, 4v4 for 2 minutes. 30 seconds later, not even 30 seconds later, during the 4v4, Pasta gets stripped in the O-zone. He's trying to do too much, tries to go through 3 guys. It gets stripped. The Ducks break it out the other way, and in the neutral zone, Lohrei get caught a little high. And instead of just trying to book it on his way back, he tries to lay a hit. Now, even if he made contact, real contact, with this hit, it's still a 2-on-1. But he also doesn't get great contact, so it's 3-on-1. It's perfectly executed. Zegras on the left side is going to wait till they get in tight, pass it across. It's going to go right back from Lacombe. I think it's Lacombe. And he's going to bury this. No chance for Swayman. Zegras gets one. It's 1-0. Lohrei, up until that point, had been so unbelievably excellent and fun to watch this period. One of the few Bruins right now who's genuinely fun to watch because they're creative and they're creating and there's things happening around them. And then he did that, and that was just brutal. Brutal. That's okay. That's okay. You're only down a goal, and it wasn't within the last 2 minutes of a period, which we're used to. But the tricky part of that is you still have to go through the last 2 minutes of the period. And with 38 seconds left, the Bruins have numbers back defensively. They do. Everyone's in the defensive zone. Both defensemen have their guy. But Zacha decides to stay high on the blue line with Pasta. And he attacks Lacombe, who has an easy play to just go across the blue line to Gudas. So Zacha and Pasta are both up in the zone. Fine for a winger. Not great for your center. And then down on the bottom left side, I think it's Vetrano, is just wide open. Checking my notes, it was Vetrano. Bottom of the left circle. Gudas gets to do a diagonal pass right to him, hard. Vetrano basically just has to deflect this. Low blocker, and it's 2-0. Just a defensive lapse. Easy finish. I know a lot of people are going to do the, how come we can't get players like that in there for Vetrano? Go ahead. You earned it. Good job by you. You get to do that. It's 2-0. Against the Ducks, against one of the statistical worst teams in the league. That's not a great start. That's not a great start when you're looking at the schedule and to hit the 95 standings points. That's usually your barrier between making the playoffs and not making the playoffs. You need 35 points out of 50, right? Like, you really need those. You really need those. We're going to move on. Second period, 3:25 in. Gudas for tripping. We're going to the power play. Ugly, man. Ugly power play. 12 minutes left. Gibson for tripping. We're going to the power play. 30 seconds later, Leeson for tripping. We're going to have a 5-on-3 for a minute 32. I fully expected to be horribly disappointed by this and then just sob and sob and sob. But 40 seconds later, Pasternak takes advantage of the Ducks selling out to stop him. And honestly, it's not a bad strategy. If you're doing a 5-on-3, you pick your one real scoring threat, especially if the team only really has one, and you focus on him. Well, Pasternak's going to skate down the right side of the slot. Two players are basically going to collapse into him. He's going to take this space that's being created on the left side, just fling it over there. It's a perfect pass to Lindholm, who's standing in the left circle, and he's going to hammer this to Gibson, and it is going to squeak through him. And it looks like Marchand initially dunks it behind Gibson, but Marchand's pointing at Lindholm, like, you got that one. It squeaked through before I got there. That's good captain stuff. It's 2-1. You still have a power play, though. You still have like a minute and 20 seconds on the power play. And the best opportunity of that minute 20 was Vetrano on a breakaway, who gets stopped, right? I think maybe shoots it wide. The defenseman was there hassling him from behind. The second best opportunity of that power play, though, would be Vetrano again, actually, because Fabry outworked everybody on collecting that puck after that chance and then got the puck to Vetrano, who was pretty wide open in the slot again. And this one definitely did go high and wide. So, not a great showing when you're down by a goal with a little bit of power play time. That's okay. We're kind of used to it, right? 5:30 left. Johnson for tripping. We're going to the power play again. We don't get anything with it. 1:47 left. Lorai is going to go for interference. We're going to go to the penalty kill, and we are going to kill this off. The third period starts. Dustall is in. Gibson won't finish due to some sort of upper body injury. I'm not sure really what happened to him. I hope he's okay. But 3:37 into this period, Marchand loses an edge and slides into the boards hard. And the play actually gets blown dead, and he's helped to the bench. He would go down the tunnel. He tries to stay on the bench initially, but goes down the tunnel. Does come back and has an assist later. Isn't that nice? 4:47 left. Geeky, breakaway. You're down by a goal. Zacha, great pass to get it to him. He's behind the defense with space and time. Dustall stops him, glove side. Geeky had like 9 high danger chances at this point. I'm sure the stats don't actually back that up, but he had 1,000. Somewhere between 9 and 1,000 high danger chances. He was in so many places with opportunity to score. It's okay. It's okay. 1:11 left. The Bruins are set up. Swayman pulled. Geeky standing in the left circle. Marchand to Lorai. Up at the blue line, Lorai to Geeky, perfect pass. Geeky slams this through Dustall, under his glove. It's 2-2. They waive it for goaltender interference. And when you watch the replay, Dustall gives Lindholm a shove in the back who's standing outside the blue paint. Totally normal stuff. Gives him another shove. Totally normal stuff. Not complaining about it at all. Lindholm turns around, gives him a little pound to his chest. They both turn back to face the play. Beat. Shots taken. Beats Dustall. Low glove. 2-2. There is such thing as, and I knew this wasn't, like, we all knew that this was not going to be considered goaltender interference. Had they called this goaltender interference, we are protecting goalies too much. We are. I am of the mind, and I've basically always had this opinion, as soon as the goalie leaves that blue paint, he should be subject to any hit that any other player would take. So when he goes around the net to collect a puck and Marchand comes screaming in, and the goalie knows that he's not just going to blow him up, so he just makes a play with the puck, I think Marchand should just be allowed to go through that guy. You're a skater now, dude. Like, we're protecting these guys way too much. Way too much. I love goalies. Goalies are typically my favorite part of certain teams. Like, big goalie guy. They're part of the game. And honestly, most of them are tougher than most of the skaters in front of them and way crazier than them. Let them play the game. Ridiculous. Anyway, so it's overturned. We had a challenge to get that overturned, but it's overturned. It's tied. We're going to go to overtime. Takes about 3.5, a little more than 3.5 minutes, and those 3.5 minutes are filled with the Bruins having the puck, having opportunities with no finish. And then the Ducks come into the zone down the right wall. Coyle and Marchand decide they both need to go after the same puck carrier. Puck gets moved away from them. So they have to try to catch up. Dumoulin is on the left side. He's going to be able to skate in with nothing but time because the third Bruin has to protect against the 2-on-1 he's basically facing now. Dumoulin's going to skate in, fire low glove. Swayman makes a save, kicks it out, but Marchand and Coyle also decided that they needed to clap straight to the net and not actually cover anyone. So on the rebound that gets kicked out, it goes to Carlson, who's just like, thanks, dudes. Whips it into the empty net. It's so dumb. This team doesn't think the game well. That I can promise you. They don't process the game at a high level. They just don't. 3-2 overtime loss. The game notes, there's something I want to say about the game notes, because these game notes are not going to be super positive. The game notes are going to get weird through the season, through the end of the season, because I can't keep harping on the same stuff. And it's been like 3 months now of the same issues. So I can't keep harping on the same stuff every freaking game. And, well, the math is bad. So we're going to talk a little bit about the math here and what it's looking like. Before I do that, Lohrei and Patra both had roller coaster games. Some highs and some lows. Patra's greatest weakness right now is his inability to make the quick decision. Get the puck on your stick, move the puck. Just make the next play. Until you can frequently get used to that, like, you got to stop all the holding stuff. Hold it sometimes, like, make that play. It's great when you can protect against the boards, but as soon as you're outnumbered, you've got to make sure you're moving that puck. That's the only thing that's really killing me with him. But not in a way I want him sent down. Like, these are the lumps he has to take right now. This is what we have to work through. Lohrei, too. Lohrei had some huge mistakes in this one, but work through it. They're young. They're getting better. Lohrei is going to be a late bloomer. He's going to be so very good. He's going to be so good. This is what it takes. And this is what this year is. It just is. So, the Bruins need to have 34 points, standings points, over the next 24 games. So, 48 possible points. They need 34 of them to hit 95 standing points on the season, the historical standard to make the playoffs. Now, I'm going to add the asterisk right now. This is something people keep bringing up and keep arguing with me about it. There are the other 5-6 teams that are vying for these 2 wildcard spots, right? They're all right by us. Now, most of them have games in hand and things like that, but like, they're right there too. So when we talk about how grim this math is and everything, the math is technically grim for basically everybody. It's just, we'll get there. We'll get there. So, having 34 points out of 48 over the next 24 games, that's a 708 point percentage, right? Which would be the third best mark in the league this season, behind the Capitals and the Jets. They'd have to be a top 3 team in the league for 55 days without McAvoy and without Lindholm. Either one of those guys could be back next game and my mind wouldn't be blown. I would be pretty surprised if McAvoy was back next game. But still, you're getting a very rusty Lindholm and a hampered McAvoy at some point. I think we can root for the best case scenario and also understand that the math is very grim. It's like, when you put it into actual context, you look at this and go, we're 2 points out of a playoff spot. Yes, they have a couple games in hand. Correct. But if you look at historically what's been needed to make the playoffs consistently, that's really grim. Last year, the Capitals made it with 92 points. Right. Some years a little lower, some years a little higher. This looks like it could be a year for the Eastern Conference where it's historically low. I mean, somebody might make the playoffs with 89 points, which that math, a little bit easier, certainly much more feasible than 95. But will we be the team that does it? Right? And if we do, which I'm still rooting for the playoffs. I want to be very clear about that. I know that it's not the best thing for the future of the franchise, but I just think it'd be kind of fun. I don't know. I haven't felt zero pressure in the playoffs with the Bruins in a long time. So, sometimes it's just fun. If you make the playoffs with somewhere between 89 and 95 points, what do you think this team does? Right? Like, what playoff team are they going to be? And is it going to be the number 1 seed? Maybe. Hockey's weird. But unlike dream teams of the past where they would squeeze their way into the playoffs and go on some crazy run, and I won't say that you always sat there and went, oh, yeah, I saw this coming. No. But there were little signs of things that they did really great or really well. And Brick said it great during the broadcast. This team doesn't do anything well. There's nothing that this team does at a higher level than average. Nothing. There's nothing. Oh, sorry. Face-offs. That's it. That's it. You would hope goaltending, but there's been highs and lows with that as well. That's just where it is. Now, again, we can root for the best case scenario, and I certainly am. But we can also be realistic about what's happening right now. And the team's not very good. They're just not. Best franchise in hockey. Team's not very good right now. Is there a way out of it? We're going to have to start looking at that. We're going to have to try to figure out some stuff at the trade deadline. See what we're looking at there. Look at what pieces we have. Who wants what their value is. Sweeney is probably sticking around, would be my guess. But we'll see what happens there. Who the next coach will be. Will Sacco get extended, or will they actually go out and grab a new one? I think they'll go grab a new one. There's a lot. There's a lot there. Now, a lot of that, what I just said, is also down the road. But, yeah, it's a weird portion of the season. So you just got to hope that everyone else bottoms out and you make the playoffs with a historically low points percentage and somehow some crazy miracle run, which would be awesome. It's just hard to actually see it happening, you know? We can root for it, though. I think you could do both. You could be aware of the situation, and you could still root for the best case scenario. I don't have to be blind to the reality of it. I've always tried to be a realistic guy, optimistic as often as I can be, even if it means I'm pushing against the realism a little bit. But sometimes when you've got the bold letters on the wall, you still got to read them. You know? You gotta. Either way, I've started to narrow into the pieces of the team that I'm trying to really enjoy watching, because the Bruins do make it hard to watch them sometimes. So, like Lorai, there's certain guys that are just more entertaining to watch, and you get excited about them being on the ice. Kind of like the days when we had the perfection line. But back then when that line was on the ice, I was locked in. Really, whenever the other lines were on the ice. All right, I guess we'll see what happens. It's just different. There's certain players just make things happen. I don't know. This is a weird rant. Go Bees. Go Bees! And now it's time to say thank you to the high-quality inspectors. I appreciate each and every one of you. There's over 100 of you at this point. And I love doing these thank yous at the end, but I think we're reaching such a volume that I have to rethink this strategy, because you're all so incredible and so supportive. But this is getting really long, and there's got to be a better way, right? But let's start the thank yous, of course, with the top line tier. Dampen, Chris and Erica, Negev79, Trial Exotic, Jeff McGugan, Quackin' Platypus, Andrew Peterson, Sean Kreider, JM, Zenon Noel DeGuy, Donald Shelton, Kevin Timperley, Anakin Palpatine, The Rat 63, Lola Cattingsworth, EKM Productions, Moonlighter TV, Big Bad Bruin, The Bugman, Adam Ella, Jeff with a G, Tommy Braga, Roland 22, GD Viperworks, Len Cruz, Brock Nope, Michael Kemmerer, Hans Slomo, Coach D, The Atomic Lizard, Bradley Johnson, Brett Arney, Pincent, and Nick Citrullo. Thank you so much, each and every one of you. You're absolute legends of this channel, and you're very appreciated. And now, of course, to our all-star tier members. Lorenzo Wood, Jake Brower, Penny Pasta, Levi Catalani, Boston Stringler, Bagel, JG's 12, Mark S., Jacob Pratt, Nightmare Eco, John Kirk, Ann Hustis, Joel, Heil E. Coyote, Darren Woodbury, Abraxion, Michael DePaulo, Wolf Warrior, Vinny, Adrian Winter, Tupton D. Tashi, Bruin Smash, DeKingery, The Only Newts, A Tasty Snack, Doots42, and Jeremy. absolute stallions, every single one. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for being a part of the channel. I cannot express my gratitude. Go Bees.